Hello everyone, welcome to Hidden Affairs. Here we share real-life stories of love, betrayal, and the secrets people try to keep. Please do subscribe, and share your thoughts about the story in the comment section. Now let's enjoy the story. I am John Parker, a man who seemed to have everything in hand. My wife, Sophia, is a beautiful and talented woman whom everyone admires. Both of us have stable careers in New York. I work in finance, while Sophia is the marketing director at a large company. We have a glamorous life, dinners at fancy restaurants, luxurious vacations, and a group of friends in the upper echelons of society. But little do people know, everything was just a facade. We had been married for 7 years, and no one could have imagined that our perfect life would be threatened by a silly game. A game that I once thought would never become an issue. The first time I heard about the celebrity hall pass was on a summer evening when we were at a party with some of our close friends. The atmosphere of the party was lively. Everyone gathered around the pool, sharing funny stories and drinks flowing freely. But then, when the conversation among the couple started shifting to a different topic, I began to realize how strange it was. We all have a celebrity hall pass, don't we? Claire, one of Sophia's friends, said. I looked at them, not understanding. Celebrity hall pass? What's that? Sophia turned to me, smiling softly, and explained. It's a game, honey. Each person picks a celebrity they would want to date or even sleep with if the opportunity arises, without it being considered cheating. I raised an eyebrow, surprised by the response. I looked at the other couples in the group, and they all nodded as if this was something they had done for a long time. So, if I pick a celebrity, I would be able to be with them without being considered unfaithful to you? I asked, feeling skeptical. Exactly, Claire replied, with a mischievous smile. But don't worry, it's just a game. Sophia chuckled, gently holding my hand. Honey, I just thought it was a fun little joke. I didn't object immediately, but I felt a strange unease in my chest. Are you seriously going to pick someone? I asked, my voice filled with concern. Sophia just shook her head, saying it was all just pretend, but I felt something wasn't right. The next day, we went on with our usual routine, but that event kept circling in my mind. How could a game like this change everything? And I began to realize that the connection between me and Sophia was slowly fading. The long evenings, we were both immersed in our work. I stayed late at the office, and so did she. We no longer had dinner together like before. Our conversations became shorter and lacked emotion. A few months later, Sophia had to attend a conference in Los Angeles. At that time, I was busy with a major project at work, so I couldn't go with her. I simply sent a message wishing her a safe trip. Nothing special until that night. Late at night, while I was working in the office, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was a call from Sophia. I'm at the club, John, she said, her voice sounding strange. You won't believe it. I just met David West, the Hollywood star. He said I should use my hall pass. At that moment, it felt like a heavy stone was pressing down on my chest. What are you talking about, Sophia? What did you just say? Her voice became harder to hear, seemingly drowned out by the noise in the background. I'm going with him. He said it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't worry, John. I love you. But before I could respond, the call ended. I stared at the phone screen, unable to believe what I had just heard. I immediately tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. I left several messages telling her not to do anything stupid. A feeling I couldn't describe overwhelmed me, as if the whole world suddenly collapsed. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was spinning, wondering if I had misunderstood. Was Sophia really with another man? And was she really planning to use the hall pass we had once talked about as a joke? Everything became a blur in my head, and I didn't know what to do. The next morning, I tried calling again, but there was no answer. I sent messages, but received no replies. A terrible feeling consumed me. I knew I couldn't just sit here and let the uncertainty eat me alive. I had to get to the bottom of this. I reached out to one of Sophia's friends, Jack, to ask about her. Jack was married to Jenny, one of Sophia's friends, and both of them were attending the conference. Jack said he would try to find out. But what I didn't expect was the call from Jenny that I would later hear, which would be the proof that I no longer had any doubt about Sophia's betrayal. The next day, I couldn't wait any longer. Every minute felt like an entire year. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Sophia couldn't just leave things so unclear. She couldn't just call me briefly, then leave like everything was fine. Why did she have to go meet someone else, especially a famous star, and talk about hall pass as if it were something normal? I couldn't handle this on my own without help. I called Jack. He was the only person I could turn to at this point. Jack picked up the phone. His voice sounded worried. "What's going on, John? What do you need?" I took a deep breath. "Jack, I need your help." "She's Sophia? I think she's cheating on me with David West. I need you to help me find out where she is." Jack was silent for a few seconds, then replied, "Sure, I'll help you. But John, you need to prepare yourself. If everything is as you think, it's going to be a huge shock." I could hear the worry in Jack's voice, but I couldn't stop now. Something felt very wrong, and I had to know the truth. After hanging up, I sat down at my desk trying to focus, but I couldn't. Everything kept spinning in my head. For the first time in 7 years of marriage, I felt like I was being deceived right before my eyes. The feeling was terrible. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I too busy with work that she felt neglected? I didn't have time to think any longer. A few hours later, Jack called back. "I just spoke with Jenny. She said that Sophia really went with David. They left the club last night. Jenny even heard them talking about hall pass before Sophia agreed to go with him. He even talked about living out a dream." Jack's words were like a punch to my face. Every word, one by one, felt like knives stabbing into my heart. I couldn't believe it. How many times had I thought that stories of wives cheating were just things from movies, things that couldn't happen to me? But now the truth was clear. She had betrayed me, and there was nothing I could do to change that. I didn't have the patience to wait for her to come back from Los Angeles anymore. I decided to find out for myself. I called Sophia's mother to ask if she knew anything about this. Her mother was someone I had always respected, but when I told her about my suspicions, she just sighed, her voice filled with disappointment. "John, I don't know what to say, but Sophia has always liked attention, especially from famous people. I don't think she's someone who would stop if the opportunity arose, but I hope she realizes that she's doing wrong." Her mother was right, but what I felt now wasn't just the wrongness of the affair. I felt like I had been deceived all these years. No matter what excuse she gave, I couldn't accept it. After discussing with my lawyer, I decided not to let everything slide without any response. I gathered all the evidence I could, recorded calls, messages from Sophia and Jack, and even the conversations I had overheard from Jenny. But I couldn't just stop there. I needed to confront her, and when I did, I wanted to make sure everything was recorded so that I wasn't just a betrayed man, but a man who would win in this battle. The day Sophia came back from Los Angeles, I knew I had to be prepared. I couldn't let her deny the truth easily anymore. I made a plan and waited. I sat in the living room tense, my hand tightly gripping the remote for the camera. The garage door opened, and I heard Sophia's footsteps approaching. She walked into the room, her gaze distant, as if nothing had happened. "Hi, John. What a wonderful trip," Sophia said, her voice light, as if everything was still fine. I didn't answer right away, just looked at her for a long time. A cold feeling rose in my chest. "You're back? Can you explain to me, Sophia? Where were you last night? With whom?" Sophia paused, her face showing a hint of surprise, then quickly shifted to a defensive expression. I just went out for a bit. It's nothing. I don't need you to lie anymore," I said, trying to stay calm, even though anger was rising inside me. "I know what you did. Jack told me. Jenny confirmed it. You met David West, and you went with him last night. What are you planning to do?" Sophia stayed silent for a moment, then looked up at me, her eyes full of defiance. "John, don't make a big deal out of this. It was just an opportunity one couldn't turn down." I walked up to her, unable to hold back anymore. "So, you think I wouldn't find out? We don't have a hall pass in real life, Sophia. What you did is betrayal, and there's no excuse for it." She took a step back, her expression unchanged. "What can you do about it? You can't control me forever. What I did isn't wrong. You can't make me feel guilty." "You don't understand," I replied, my voice breaking. "I've done everything for us, and now you've destroyed it all." At that moment, I pressed the record button. This video would be the proof of everything. I couldn't let this slip by. Sophia stood there, looking at me as if I were just a loser in a game she had created. She showed no sign of remorse, not a hint of regret. On the contrary, she even seemed defiant, as if I were the one in the wrong, not her. I felt my chest tightening, not because I still loved her, but because this betrayal was so powerful and sudden. The years we had spent together, the memories of our trips, the quiet nights we spent together on the sofa, were now suddenly crushed by this cold truth. She was no longer the person I knew. "You don't understand, John," Sophia said, her voice no longer soft like before. "You're overreacting." That night, I just wanted to be true to myself, to feel free, to feel like I was still a desirable woman, not a wife who always has to worry and take care of everything. Her words were like a slap in the face. She didn't think about my feelings, didn't think about everything I had done for this family. All she saw was her own lack, her dreams that couldn't be realized in this marriage. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the emotions rising in me, but I couldn't stay silent anymore. "So you're telling me that I'm the reason you did this?" I couldn't stay calm. "You think I don't know what you did? You think you can hide all of this from me?" Sophia lowered her head, looking at her hands, but there was no sign of remorse. "I didn't do anything wrong. It was just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Do you think I could pass that up?" I didn't answer right away, but moved closer to her. I knew what I had to do next. I had prepared everything, and now it was time to face her, to face the truth. "Don't you think what you did was wrong, Sophia? Don't you really see what's happening?" I slowly pulled the camera out of my bag, pressed the button, and aimed it at her. "Everything you just said is being recorded, and what you've done, you'll have to pay for it." She looked at me in surprise. "What are you doing? You can't do this to me. You can't record me and take it out into the open. You don't have the right. You don't have any rights anymore, Sophia," I said, my voice now firm. "You've done something I can't forgive. Now, I'm going to show you what happens when you betray me." I didn't want to see her in pain, but I couldn't stop. Every word, every piece of evidence I had, they would help me settle this once and for all. The next day, I began working with my lawyer, Jessica Cruz, someone I had heard of for a long time. She was known as one of the toughest divorce lawyers in New York, someone who always worked relentlessly and never compromised. She looked at me with a cold stare as I told her the story. "John, I understand how you feel, but remember, the evidence we have right now will be crucial. This is not just about infidelity. It's about pride and honor. We won't let Sophia get away with this easily." I nodded. "She needs to understand that I'm not a fool. I loved her with all my heart, and now I need to protect myself and our children." Jessica quickly got to work, asking me to provide all the evidence, recorded calls, messages from Sophia and Jack, and even the conversations I had overheard from Jenny. She outlined a clear strategy. We would use all of this evidence to force Sophia to take responsibility for her actions. "I'll work fast," Jessica said, "but right now you need to be patient. We can't rush. We have to wait for the right moment." I knew I had to follow Jessica's plan, but with each passing second, I felt even more tormented. The images of Sophia happily with David West, the way she talked about living true to herself, kept haunting me. I wondered, was she really feeling regret? Did she realize she had lost everything? A few days later, while I was preparing my next steps, I received a call from Sophia. She had managed to get in touch with me. "John, I want to meet you," she said over the phone, her voice soft, and she seemed like she was trying to reach out. I didn't respond immediately. My heart was in turmoil. I could sense the worry in her voice, but was it real, or was it just a trick to soften me up? I couldn't let my emotions take over anymore. "I'll meet you, but you have to prepare for what's coming," I said, my tone calm. We decided to meet that evening. I didn't know what her intentions were, but I was mentally prepared. I couldn't let myself be deceived again. The meeting took place in a fancy restaurant, a place where Sophia and I had many beautiful memories. The atmosphere in the restaurant was really different. Cold, no warmth whatsoever. We sat across from each other, and I could see the worry in her eyes, but I couldn't wait any longer for the truth. "John, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I didn't think it would go this far. I didn't think I could hurt you this much," Sophia began, her voice a little choked. I looked at her, not saying a word. Anger was rising in me, but I couldn't let that anger cloud my judgment. "What have you done to us, Sophia? Do you think you can come back and everything will be the same?" She stayed silent. I could see her trying to find words to justify herself, but I didn't need any more explanations. You can continue living with David, Sophia. As for me, I'll move on, but I'll never forget what you've done. I stood up without a word of farewell. As I walked out of the restaurant, I knew I had made the right decision. Life wouldn't be easy, but I wouldn't let myself be hurt any longer. After that meeting, I couldn't describe my emotions. She stood in front of me, apologizing, but those apologies seemed to have no weight. All I felt was emptiness, the pain of realizing that someone I had trusted wholeheartedly could betray me so blatantly. I had nothing more to say to Sophia. When I stepped out of the restaurant, the New York night felt so cold. The bustling streets, with their dim lights, seemed meaningless to me. Each step I took was heavy, and I felt like I was lost in the city, among everything I once thought was solid. This marriage, my love, everything had shattered. I returned home, the place Sophia and I had once called our home. Everything here was now just painful memories. I walked into the living room, seeing the sofa we used to sit on together, the coffee tables, the small items we had chosen together. Every little detail in this house reminded me of the happy days I had once imagined would last forever. But no, everything had changed now. I couldn't continue living in this illusion. The next day, I decided to enter a battle that I knew wouldn't be easy. I called my lawyer, Jessica Cruz, and asked her to prepare everything necessary for the upcoming legal battle. I couldn't let Sophia escape this. I couldn't let her continue treating this like a joke. Everything had to be settled once and for all. Jessica was determined when she received my call. "Jean, I understand. We're not stopping here. I'll make sure all the evidence you have will be presented in court." It felt like a new strength was rising within me. Even though everything was still very complicated, at least I knew I was heading in the right direction. I couldn't let Sophia avoid responsibility. I couldn't let her keep living in this lie. She needed to learn the lesson of what she had done. The next few days, I spent all my time working with Jessica, preparing for the battle ahead. Every document, every piece of evidence had to be prepared meticulously. The recordings, the messages, the pictures, and the video, all would be weapons I'd use to prove that I wasn't wrong. I remember that day when I recorded the conversation with Sophia, when she admitted everything without hiding anything. We might not need all of this, but I didn't want to leave anything out. The tension grew as we prepared for the trial. Every time I saw Sophia, I felt a lump in my throat. She seemed like a stranger, a foreigner standing before me, no longer the person I loved, the person I had shared my whole life with. In my eyes, she was no longer the Sophia who loved me, but someone who had destroyed everything. As the trial day approached, my mind couldn't stop thinking about everything. This case was not just about divorce, it was about betrayal, about honor and dignity. But I couldn't just let everything pass by like a breeze. I had to fight, not just for myself, but for the children, for everything I had built with Sophia. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a fight for justice. Finally, the day came when I had to face Sophia in court. I felt like my heart was made of stone. As I entered the courtroom, I saw her. She no longer had the confidence, no longer that defiant look from before. She sat there, silently, her head bowed as if she were hiding from an undeniable truth. The trial began. Sophia's lawyers stood up, and I could see the confidence in her eyes. "Your Honor, we will prove that all Mr. Parker's accusations are false. We will prove that Mrs. Butler did nothing wrong, and that Mr. Parker is simply too tired of his marriage." I couldn't stand to hear those words. How could she say that when all the evidence was right in front of them? Jessica stood up, holding documents, her eyes sharp. "Your Honor, we don't only have Mr. Parker's testimony, but we also have undeniable evidence. The recordings, the messages, and especially the video we have collected will prove that Mrs. Butler violated the commitments of marriage." The court was silent. I could feel the eyes of everyone in the room turn towards Sophia. She couldn't escape this truth anymore. Jessica continued to present each piece of evidence, each detail, until Sophia had no more excuses left. Finally, when the images of her with David West, her proud confessions about the affair, were presented as evidence, I saw her stagger. Sophia tried to remain calm, but I could clearly see the fear in her eyes. She hadn't expected me to go this far. The clear evidence couldn't be denied anymore. I turned to look at her one last time, my eyes cold. "You think everything will just go away, Sophia? You think you can destroy everything and keep living without consequences?" She remained silent, no answer. Now, everything was clear. Our relationship, the trust one had given her, it was all over. The court gave its verdict, and although I didn't feel any sense of victory inside, I knew I had done the right thing. Finally, I could move on freely without worrying about the lies. Sophia would have to face the consequences of her actions. The feeling of loss still lingered in me, but at least I knew I had regained my self-respect. Even though the family had fallen apart, I would do everything to protect my children and rebuild my life. That was what truly mattered. After the trial, there was no feeling of victory flooding me. The feeling I thought would come when Sophia faced what she had done wasn't what I expected at all. I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel that I had done the right thing. All I felt was emptiness, the exhaustion of a prolonged battle in which no one wins. I left the courthouse with a heavy heart, as though I had no strength to go on with a normal life. The memories of Sophia, of the family, now were nothing but pieces that could never be put back together. We tried our best, but it seemed that fate had decided everything. At this point, I had only one goal: to protect my children and ensure they wouldn't suffer any negative effects from this battle. I decided to take them back to my hometown to live with my family, away from the conflicts in the city, so they could have a peaceful and stable life. A week after the trial, I returned home after a long day at work. The coldness enveloped this house. Many days had passed, but I still hadn't cleaned up Sophia's things. Everything remained as it was, as if she had just stepped out and hadn't come back. I looked at the sofa where we used to sit for hours, talking about future plans, dreams of a perfect life. But now all those promises were just lies. I couldn't erase those memories, but I knew what I had to do. My phone suddenly rang, and I knew immediately who it was. It was Sophia. She had tried to contact me over the past few days, but I had always avoided her. Today, I decided to answer the call. Although I knew nothing could change, I still wanted to hear what she had to say. "John." Sophia's voice came through weak. "I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I don't know what to do anymore." I didn't respond right away. I felt the anger, the pain from the battle we just went through rising up in me, but I had decided to let go of those emotions. She was no longer someone worth my concern. "You think saying sorry can fix everything, Sophia?" I interrupted, my voice no longer angry, but chillingly cold. "You've done something that can't be forgiven. You betrayed me, and now you're here apologizing to me. You have no right to." I could sense the tremor in her voice. You're right. But I really didn't know how wrong I was until everything fell apart. I didn't want to lose you, but I did. A storm of emotions flared up inside me, but I fought to control them. "No, you don't understand. You didn't lose me. You left me. You walked away from everything we had built. You may regret it, but it's too late to turn back. You chose this path, and now you have to face the consequences. I don't want to lose you, John. I was wrong. I love you." The word love from her mouth sounded so hollow, like a meaningless phrase anyone would say when there's no way left to redeem themselves. I couldn't believe her words anymore. "You love me." I took a deep breath, then said, "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. If you loved me, you wouldn't have destroyed this family. It's all just lies." The silence stretched on for a long moment. I couldn't hear any more excuses from her. "Don't call me anymore, Sophia. Don't contact me again. We both need to end this." And then I hung up. After ending that call, I felt a sense of relief, but I couldn't shake off the heavy feeling in my chest. I had made it clear to Sophia that everything was over, but deep down, I knew the battle wasn't truly over. No matter how hard I tried to forget, I would still have to face the consequences of her betrayal. I began to set up a new life for myself and my children. We moved back to my hometown to live with my family. Although my heart still ached, I knew this was where we would find peace. I didn't want my children to witness any more of the horrors. When I saw them happily playing with their grandparents, I knew I had done the right thing. Even though I had lost the love I had invested my whole heart in, at least I could give my children a happy life away from the hurt. As time passed, I gradually recovered. Each day, I felt stronger, though the wounds in my heart remained. Sometimes I still thought about Sophia, about the memories we had, but I no longer let those thoughts control my life. I had learned to live for myself, for my children. And then one day, I received a letter from Sophia. In the letter, she apologized once again, saying that she had realized her mistake and and that nothing was more important than her regret and desire to change. But I didn't open the letter. I didn't need any more apologies because I had learned to forgive myself, and I knew I deserve a new life, a life free from pain, no longer haunted by the mistakes of the past. Thank you for listening till the end. If you enjoyed the story, please give a heart in comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories.